Welcome back to another hot one here in beautiful Wyoming. And in today's video, we've never officially met. My 2015 Ford Focus SE. My wife is from Grace, Idaho, and we are currently living just outside of Cody, Wyoming. It's quite the trip to go over and visit family, and we needed something just a little bit more fuel efficient on gas and something newer and nicer, more comfortable to drive around. Now looking back, that was a great purchase since gas prices have now skyrocketed to near $5–6 a gallon depending on where you're at. And this is a very fuel efficient car. We got it for a pretty good price at 122,000 miles, and here I am finally introducing it to you guys almost 10,000 miles later. While this is a compact sedan, we have absolutely loved owning it and loved driving it. We're a Ford family. I really like Ford products. Not to say that this is the most reliable car or one of their best cars even, but it's still a very good car. If you're considering buying one, I would highly recommend that you do so, as long as you're looking for a compact car or something to commute with that's super good on gas, yet is still a fully combustion powered engine car. 2015 was also the year they come out with a Ford Focus Electric, so I cannot speak to that car, but I can tell you that you get almost 600 miles of range out of this car, which is absolutely amazing, taking note that it is actually a pretty small tank of gas as well. With that said, let's go ahead and check out my 2015 Ford Focus, which is very dirty because I actually come out to wash it, and then I realized it's like 80-some degrees out here, which is not as hot as it usually is, but maybe I'll wait till it's a little bit cooler. 2015 is one of my favorite years for vehicles in general. I just really think that was a time when the automotive industry as a whole started to kind of move in the more modern direction. So yes, this car is, older now at this point, but it still feels very modern and very current, which is good because Ford doesn't make these anymore, unfortunately. Now, before we dive into the interior, I just want to make a comment that this is Ford's compact car. It's their most basic car that they sold. If you want something a little nicer, of course there's a couple upgraded trim levels of the Focus, but you would also consider the Fusion, especially, like I said, if you're going to use this more as a family or a road trip vehicle. With that said, let's jump into the interior and check out the styling points, but I am going to jump over to my iPhone because the camera just doesn't give us a wide enough angle. Okay, so like I said, this is Ford's compact car, at least back in the day. They don't make them anymore, but you can see I'm not quite 6 foot, and the driver's seat is slid forward just a little bit. It's a tight fit in the rear seat, so if you're considering buying this car because you want an all-around family vehicle or a road tripper and there's more than 2 of you, I would upgrade. I would buy the Fusion and not the Focus. But if it's just mainly one driver or it is just the 2 of you, the Focus makes a really good choice because it gets 2 to 3 to 4, 5 miles to the gallon better than the Fusion does, even with the same engine. But if you got people sitting in the back seat all the time, I would go with the Fusion. 2015 is one of my most favorite years of cars in general, and that is no exception with the Ford Focus. I absolutely love this interior and the styling. My only complaint being the radio right here. This could have been obviously more pulled out. It could have made the screen brighter so it didn't have to be so recessed. It could have been bigger, and it could have been touchscreen, but lucky for us, there is an upgrade that you can do to turn this into a Tesla style radio that I may consider doing sometime in the future. However, besides the radio, I absolutely love the gauge cluster here. It gives you a nice info display, letting you know your trip computers, your speeds, your engine hours, your trip hours, and your fuel economy. The Ford Focus is designed to be a commuter slash a city car, and it's all designed around getting excellent fuel economy. If I turn this on right now, it would show that our fuel economy average was like 37 or something like that. We usually average between 35 and 40 miles to the gallon out of this, Now, if you drive in town, that's not going to be as good, obviously, but we do mostly highway driving, and I haven't figured out how to reset that yet. And yes, all of the doors are open. Okay, let's take a peek here. Our average fuel economy is 37.9 miles to the gallon. Now, like I said, the Focus is Ford's compact car. So this is with the seat slid all the way back. I'm like 5'9", 5'10", and you know, it fits me pretty comfortably. But if you were any taller, you might have a hard time driving this car comfortably. Everything is very close, very accessible to both you and your passenger, and there isn't a whole lot of storage options. So the glove box, you know, is probably average to decent size, somewhat smaller than a full-size sedan. You got some storage on the two side pockets, got two cup holders here, and a somewhat small center console. So not the most roomy car, but again, for commuting, it works absolutely excellent. The radio sounds really good. It does have Bluetooth. It does have CD changers. And other than that, it's just your basic functions here. There's no automatic mode on the climate control. There's no heated or cooled seats. There's no lane departure or parking sensors or anything to worry about there either. It's just your most basic, most simple car and package that you could have got from Ford back in the day. Now, it does have a backup camera, but other than that, there's none of those annoying driver nannies that you know, plague a lot of the newer cars today. Nothing extra that you have to really worry about breaking in the future. This is one of them cars you just get in, and it's designed to drive and get you from point A to point B and back from B to A every single day. Now, while it is designed for commuting, the seats really are not that uncomfortable. Of course, they're not as padded or as luxurious as, you know, some of the older cars were. They're not as bolstered as, you know, the Ford Focus RS or ST would be, but they're still pretty good. They're pretty comfortable. They're traditional Ford seats that are just a little bit stiffer and sit you up a little bit more upright than most of the other seats do. All of these chrome pieces are actually just kind of fake plasticky bits, but you know, they look pretty good and they've actually held up really well with age. Also, the back seats, like I said, they're not that roomy. This is with the seat all the way back. My legs barely fit in there, but you can get a car seat in here. Not comfortably, but you can get one in here, especially if you slide that passenger seat up quite a bit and tilt that seat back. So if you really have to in a pinch, this will fit, you know, the 5 people in it that you need, but it's not going to do it comfortably because, like I said, it's designed to be a commuter and a compact car for in-city driving. Another thing you're sacrificing taking this car on road trips is trunk space. It has enough for a couple of carry-on bags and a few other bits of luggage, but other than that, it's really not all that roomy. Right now we have a camp chef and 3 camp chairs in there, and you can see the trunk is basically full. We took this to Cody the other day. I totally forgot all of this was in here to get groceries. And with a bag of dog food and our regular week's groceries, it was a pretty tight space fitting it in. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're looking at buying one of these cars. Make fun of inline 4-cylinders all you want. That's the powerhouse of this Ford Focus, of actually all of them. This is the 2.0 naturally aspirated inline 4-cylinder. It produces about 160 horsepower, which is significantly more than my 1995 Camry, but other than that, under the hood, nothing has really changed on 4-cylinders in about 40 years, which, you know, is somewhat depressing. There's obviously a lot more plastics, and the thing runs so much better with more power and is yet somehow 10 miles to the gallon more fuel efficient than the old 90s 4-cylinders, which, you know, I really wish I'd done a video of this compared side by side with our Toyota Camry while we still had it, but we passed it off to a new owner. So maybe sometime in the future, we'll talk about why these 4-cylinders are still pretty easy to work on, not all that complicated, and these ones should be pretty reliable for a long time. The 2.0 is a great engine. It's obviously the base engine that they have. before they step it up with some turbos and stuff in the RS. Now there is a smaller motor you can get in these. I don't remember what it is. It's like a 1.6 or something. But the 2.0 has a timing chain system, not a timing belt. So that's not, doesn't need to be serviced. And they're just designed to run for a really long time. This does, however, have Ford's dreaded power shift transmission in it. I believe it's a 5-speed automatic. Don't quote me on that. We'll do videos on that in the future, but this car shakes and shudders and lurches about on the highway, and it's done that since it was brand new from the factory. So we'll talk about that transmission in the future and why it's problematic in the ways that it's not unreliable. Fuel prices are so expensive right now that yes, this is my wife's daily driver. She dailies it. She commutes from here to work roughly 20 miles away and back every single day. We use this car to run to town to get groceries. It's about 35 miles away there and back, and from here to the doctor or wherever else we might have to go around the Bighorn Basin. We're like smack dab in the middle of the Bighorn Basin, and literally everything's at least 30 miles away. So the car works really good in that sense. It's comfortable to drive on the highway. It really is comfortable to drive on the highway. It's got nice air conditioning, it's got good radio, it's got a good sound system in it, and it's all just basic stuff, but it's really nice to have it in a car that seems a lot newer than it is as well, which is why I like the 2015, and they didn't change it until 2018, obviously, when they quit making them model years of the Focus. It has the backup camera, and all of the other features that you feel like you're missing, you don't really notice, and you don't really feel like you're missing them because of that. So, as a commuter, this car works really, really well. But also being where we live, we don't just use this car as a commuter, because we do travel from here to Idaho over 500 miles away quite often to visit family. Oh, how is this car as a road tripper? Well, it's pretty tight inside, and at times you wish the seats were a little more comfortable, but it still works pretty well, and it does an excellent job of getting great gas mileage the entire time, even though it's not designed to do that. The tank gives you enough range. You'll push about 550, 600 miles out of it if you're driving right. The car averages, close to 40 miles to the gallon, even though it's not really geared to go at highway speeds all day, but it can still do 80. It's just at 2,500, 3,000 RPMs, yet somehow still manages to get good fuel economy. So if you can live with the tight space inside the car, if you really like the person you're traveling with, which is just me and my wife, it makes an okay road tripper. I haven't heard a lot of good things as to the reliability of these cars, but to date, and almost 10,000 miles later, we really haven't done any work to the car whatsoever. Now, in a future video, I'll talk a little bit about its drivetrain and why you have to watch out a tiny bit with these, but it seems to be a pretty reliable, pretty stout car at 130 some thousand miles. So I'm not really worried about it breaking down on our long road trips. It seems to be able to handle everything okay. If you're traveling with more than 2 people or 2 people and a baby, then you may consider upgrading to the Fusion. That's Ford's full-sized sedan, and it's more cut out for family or for road trip travel. Again, this is the compact, it's their commuter, it's their daily driver, and it's a pretty enjoyable, pretty good car to drive. And there you have it. You finally met our 2015 Ford Focus. I had planned on doing this video when we bought the car, which was now about a year ago and 10,000 miles ago, but it's just been a really reliable, really fuel efficient daily driver that we've absolutely loved owning. It's nothing special yet. This has been one of my most favorite cars that I've ever owned, and could be that it's just newer and it's more modern and it's comfortable. Could be that it hardly costs anything to maintain and own and run. But with that said, the next video that I do on this car will be fixing a few things. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't already, hit the big red button down below because you don't want to miss out on more content on this car. especially the review video that I have coming out soon on it as well. We've owned it long enough and driven it a lot. I think that I can provide you guys an accurate review on it. But if you're on the fence about buying one of these, don't be. Make sure it's been well maintained. Go test drive it. Test drive several of them so you know how they're supposed to drive. The 2.0 is pretty peppy. It's really fuel efficient, and these cars are pretty comfortable. If it's just you or one other person, the Focus is a great option, especially if you're using it for commuting. If you're using it for road tripping, well, it can do it. But if it's your family, if it's going to be your primary road trip vehicle, yes, you'll take a couple miles to the gallon hit, but I would seriously consider the Fusion, even with the 2.0 in it. And if you can find one of these Ford Focuses with a manual transmission, I would highly encourage you to buy that car immediately, because that's just an all-around great combination for the perfect driver, most reliable car on the street, and something that is still modern and very comfortable. Thank you so much for watching. Get out, enjoy your automotive ownership, and I'll catch you in the next video.